This morning I woke up in the fortress of distortion. I'm at war with my emotions. I'm coming home now. I'm coming home. Right where I belong now. Right where I belong.
Why do we need to draw a storyboard and make an animatic? Why do we need to draw each shot and plan it ahead instead of just going into production? If you go ahead straight into production, you might find that you miss some objects or things in a shot that you haven't planned ahead, or the final result shots might not connect together nice in a fluid way or in a way that you planned to. And that's why we first plan our camera positions, character positions, etc., and then make a storyboard out of it and plan everything like how do you light a set. We also take into consideration the way we're gonna make the shot look like, how it's gonna look like based on our emotional needs and certain information needs that we need to deliver. Basically, we make it because we need to know how it all should work in a set and how to make it interesting for the audience to view and understand what you're telling. And the most important is to make the audience believe what you show. But before you start doing an animatic, you need to take your storyboard, clean version of your storyboard, and break it apart into shots. That you can do in Photoshop or any other software that supports cutting, pasting, very simple things like that to cut each shot on your storyboard paper into several separate layers. Right after I imported my storyboard, I have a problem with levels, and that is because I made a photo with a camera, and instead, if you want to avoid this kind of level difference, like a gradient look on your paper, and you want it plain, then you need to scan it, and you will be fine, and you will not have to do what I do right now. And if you have a color board, then you will probably have to adjust it using hue and saturation and all the other tools to make it look the way you thought it's going to be. After you divided your storyboard into pieces, you can now remove the background image with the unwanted information and just leave the layers with the boards. Then we take images and we need to scale it up to fit the screen. We need to make it look like this so that it looks like 16:9 ratio screen, almost similar to the film format. So in order to centralize all the shots and make it fit the screen, we need to select both layers by using Shift, and then we click Ctrl-A to select everything on the screen. And that way we select the whole paper, the whole canvas, and we are doing that because we want to center our objects, basically center it to this area. We select the Move tool on the left, and we scale our images using Alt and Shift hotkeys. As you can see, when I move to the instrument like this, it also gives me a clue of what the instrument is, as well as on the right side you can see the shortcut by which you can select that tool quite fast. So now I have a problem. How do I make my A4 format canvas into 16:9 ratio? In order to do that, I need to click on Image and select Canvas Size, and then we select the format, click OK. And then we have all the shots scaled up, and if you want, you can draw on top of it or make a new layer and draw the clean version of that rough board on that new layer, and then use the cleaner version instead of the rough version that you made, that you drew on the paper. You can click on make a new layer and then draw on top of the image. And in the storyboard, if you are doing it for Animatic, you don't need any arrows or any notes that you might have on the storyboard, because they are not useful for Animatic, as the Animatic is more of a moving storyboard that already incorporates camera moves, shaking objects, or anything that is in the shot that is moving. So all the notes and arrows are redundant. Right after we did all this, we can export as a PSD file into Premiere Pro. We can either do it by saving PSD file, or we can also export as a PNG or JPEG file. But we need to do in that case we need to export each layer separately. So now after I saved it as PSD, I open a Premiere Pro and create a new document. Select Browse to select the location for my project, and then double click on the Import Media to Start area or the project area, and I can import the document. I can either click File Import or right click on the area in the project and click Import, and then I can also drag the document from the Explorer into the project file, the project area. And then the dialog box appears that asks whether you want to import it all your layers merged, or you want it separate and all the other things. So I chose individual layers because I want to use all those individual layers to be moving separately. And now you can just drag all those layers by shift selecting them and dragging them on the right to the timeline on the sequence area, or you can go to File, New, and create a sequence. And here I have the preset that I made 1080p, but if you don't have that, then you need to go to the settings and select the custom editing mode. Use a time base 24 frames per second. This is a standard. And then basically select the frame size 16:9, and then you need to select the square pixels, and you can see the ratio by now. And then you can save the preset if you want to use it again somewhere in the future. And then you just click OK. Basically now you have a sequence. You can drag all the layers in it, and you can remove the unwanted layers, and now you can retime it so that it looks more like an animatic version of your storyboard. So if you have like several layers that represent one shot, for example, if you have a background separate and then the character separate, and you want to move them separately, basically you want to use the layers, video layers in Premiere Pro, and select the one you need to be on top and move them up, and selecting the appropriate one underneath and extending them the way you want it. And if you want to switch to clips, you can control drag the clip you want to switch and drag it on the other clip's edge, and you will see these arrows, white arrows, and if you release the button, they will switch with each other, and as you can see, it puts in between those clips. And then if you want to remove the empty space, you just click on the empty space and click delete, and if you play this animatic by now, you will see that all the clips are equally timed, and we cannot call this animatic because usually in the film we don't equally time shots, as it looks too boring and there is no contrast. And we need to input that contrast basically by timing our clips. So I also imported the audio file the same way as I imported any file in the Premiere Pro, and then I play this audio file and analyze where each shot is going to be shown. This helps me to time out the animation. If you want to orient yourself around the project, you can also add marks that helps you to signify where certain scene changes into the other scene, and this helps you to also bring the clips you need without searching for the area that you need, but instead just look at the markers, or also snap to the markers the clips that you need. So now finally we have to add some transitions and effects. So how do I do a transition, simple transition for any clip? I right click at the edge of the clip and I click apply default transition. If you select audio, it will apply the volume transition from low to high, or if you select the image or the clip and select the default transition, it's basically going to go from dark to the clip, or it's going to make a transition between the two clips. And in the effect control tab on the top left corner, you can also adjust transition effects, and all of those transitions you can find as well in the effect tab underneath the video transitions. Now about the camera. How do you move the camera? Basically, if you want a camera zoom in, for example, you use a scale parameter in the effect control tab underneath the motion, and also use the anchor points that you can move in a certain area of the image in order to zoom in particularly to that spot instead of to the center. And this is very useful if you are zooming in on a specific thing in a shot. And basically you by clicking on the stopwatch sign right on the left side of the scale parameter, create a scale keyframe that you can use that is going to be changing, and then you move to the next plate, and then you move the scale percentage up or down, and that way you add a next key. And as you can see, I also use graphs to make it ease in, or like speed in, speed out of the specific area. This helps me to make camera move more organic instead of robotic. And then you can also copy the keyframes from one layer to the other layer by just selecting those keyframes, and then Ctrl+C hotkeys, or you can just go to edit, copy, and then go to other clip and Ctrl+V or edit paste. And then basically what I do next is I apply those transitions to the other sequences. For example, I can also use position parameter in order to make a camera pan up or down by just making a keyframe, going to the other place and adding a new keyframe and moving the layer by using the motion effect. I can pan my camera down or up or any other ways. And then I apply the same thing for the other shots, and I can make it look like it's shaking, adding more keyframes and shaking the camera slightly or the character slightly, and then copy the keyframes, moving them to make it fast or slow, and adjusting the way I need it. In this project I also used subsequences, but this is a little bit of a different topic. It takes a little bit of time to understand, but it's useful when you have multiple layers and then you want to add a camera zoom in, then you group all of the layers into one sequence and then move the sequence instead of moving each layer. Here I also duplicate the backgrounds in order to make the effect of flying down of the character. And the way I do this is that I have two images moving down, and then I duplicate them several times, and this helps to make an idea that he's falling down. And then in order to export the video, you basically click File, Export. Then you check if the whole project is in. And then you select the H.264 format or any other movie format. Then the output name. And then check the export video or export audio if you need so, and basically click export, and that's it.